Talk about I'm still with Talks International editor Isabel Oakeshott. We need to talk about the BBC. This is a very, very serious crisis. We have a Director General, Tim Davie, who earns about £545,000 a year. He has presided over scandal after scandal after scandal, from Gary Lineker, the various social media posts ending in his anti-Semitic social media post, Hugh Edwards, the astonishing saga of the lead anchor who turned out to be a paedophile, of course the Gaza documentary that failed to mention that the teenage narrator host was the son of a Hamas government minister, and of course Gaza, the Glastonbury, the Bob Villain debacle, and now this, and on it goes. So this is like 5 serious scandals. This is the worst. Potential. Well, the President of the United States has been seriously defamed by the BBC's flagship program, Panorama. Who is responsible? We're not quite sure, but this went out last October. This was a program that went out last October, and it turns out that, guess what? A video of him making his speech, his famous speech on 2021, January the 6th, when he claimed he'd had the election stolen from him when Biden actually won. It made it look as if Trump was saying to the crowd, "Get up to Capitol Hill, let's insurrection, violently assault that building." He did nothing of the type. They just made it look as if he did that. So whoever's responsible, you know, has done something really terrible to the president of our greatest ally. In other words, they have doctored his speech to make it look as if he called for the violent assault on Capitol Hill. He did nothing of the sort. In actual fact, he did quite the reverse. Now, this must surely mean that Tim Davie, the calamitous Director General, who just presides over one long procession of scandals, this must be the straw that breaks the camel's back. This time, surely he has to go. Meanwhile, I would suggest this might be the end of the line, or it should be the end of the line, for the £431,000 a year head of news at BBC, Deborah Turness, who thought there was a distinction between the political and military wings of Hamas. You know, she's not exactly across her brief for a kickoff. She has presided over the BBC News Department's atrociously biased coverage of the Gaza conflict, pro-Palestine, anti-Israel. Both of these people have to go this time, don't they? Kemi Badenoch leading the charge, saying heads must roll, usually in times of great crisis at the BBC, the state broadcaster that we pay for. Deputy heads roll. This time, senior heads have to go. I think Davie and Turness must surely go.
I mean, this is, I think, the most serious scandal to hit the BBC for a very long time. I mean, the Hugh Edwards scandal is of a very different nature, and I think we were talking about this last night. You know, this is about the integrity of the BBC's journalism, around which many questions are regularly raised about institutional left-wingery, and in particular over the Israel-Gaza conflict. We've seen an awful lot of sort of suspicious bias, really, in my opinion. But this is really, really serious. You can't deny this one. I mean, it's just right there, isn't it? You know, it's not something that the corporation can David Lammy-style bluster its way out of. I would just like to know exactly how it happened. I'm intrigued. Who actually did this? You know, because of course it wasn't Tim Davie or the head of news. You know, this would have happened much lower down the food chain. And it's fascinating to know, you know, who was in on the conspiracy, how many people were involved. You know, I have some sort of sympathy, I suppose, for those at the top, because they would surely have had no idea whatsoever that this was being done. But what processes failed for this to have happened? I mean, this was quite a sort of seminal speech. So how wasn't it checked by multiple people when the final kind of cut of Panorama was put together?
Yeah, I mean, who actually did it is intriguing. But the point is, the BBC have known about this for a long time. This was a programme, Panorama show, called Trump, A Second Chance. It was broadcast on the 28th of October last year, so just over a year ago. It was made for the BBC by a company called October Films Limited. Now, a former journalist, a guy called Michael Prescott, was on the BBC's Editorial Guidelines and Standards Committee. And he alerted the BBC to this some time ago and said, you've got to do something about this. This is serious. And was essentially ignored. And so he's quit, and he's made this, he's resigned in fury, and he's made this public. And the BBC now are landed, I think, as you quite rightly say, with their biggest scandal so far. This is very serious. Now, Donald Trump, when America's answer to Panorama, 60 Minutes show goes out on CBS, when they doctored Kamala Harris to make her look better than she was and make him look worse than he was, he sued them and won $16 million. He will sue Panorama, he will sue the BBC, which will plunge it into an even bigger mess than it's in now. At least I predict he will. I just think that there's a sort of sick culture of BBC, a self-satisfied culture, whereby they check their own facts with themselves. BBC Verify. It's got a wage bill of more than £3 million a year. It's got 61 staff working there. And so basically the BBC says, oh yeah, we checked it with Verify. Well, BBC Verify's got quite a long list of getting things wrong. Its most famous thing was an agricultural assessment, I think it was of the EU, where they said, yeah, here's the facts. Well, the trouble was they confused hectares with acres, and therefore they were completely wrong. And there are many other examples where they haven't exactly been bang on. So it's this self-satisfied belief in their own, beauty that is at the root of the cause. Very quickly, this is it for Davey, isn't it?
Well, you'd like to think so, though Teflon Tim seems to get away with an awful lot, doesn't he?
Not this time, I don't think. Listen, Isabel, good to talk to you. Thank you so much for this brilliant interview. We're going to go to break now. Back in